Oh man, I just could not resist that intro right there. Welcome everybody on my gaming channel to this little live stream. As you probably guessed from my video a couple of days ago, we have got a new Resident Evil game on the way, Resident Evil Requiem, and I gave some initial thoughts in my scripted video there, but you know what? I wanted to bring on some fellow Resident Evil fans to chat about it. So here we are. I've brought basically the entire Residents of Evil crew. So welcome everyone to JJ from Residents of Evil, Andrew Saulo, director of The Keeper's Diary, and Beg, who's part of the team as well, and was an absolute star when I was there filming with those guys like 6 months ago. So hello, how are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, man. We finally got Resident Evil 9.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. I imagine, particularly for you guys as a channel that pretty much just covers Resident Evil, it's been a pretty dry spell for a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's a relief to see that a new one's on the way.
Well, there's so much, when you have all that time, right, to think about what could be, you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to see something, man. I just need something concrete. Yeah. What are we doing?
I mean, I figured that there was going to be something, right, for next year. It was going to be the 30th anniversary of the series beginning. They surely had to release some kind of game. And it was just a question of, when are they going to announce it? And, they certainly kept us waiting for that one, but they finally done it. And, well, when I think about all the rumors that were circulating about what this was actually going to be, this seems like something drastically different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It does.
We can get into a second. I've also got Tony here, who was running slightly late, but he's able to join us now. Another member of the Residents of Evil crew. How's it going, man? Good to see you again.
Hey guys, how we all doing? Sorry about that.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I see a fellow man of culture here with the shades indoors at night. Very good. I take my cues from Albert Wesker, man. What can I say? But yeah, guys. So I guess I'd just be curious to know your initial thoughts on what you've seen from this trailer and what you think it means, where this series could potentially be going with this new game, because there's a lot of unanswered questions with this trailer, a lot of speculation, and you guys know probably more about Resident Evil than I ever will. So fire away, please.
Oof. Where do we begin, guys? There's a lot. I don't think any of us were expecting the direction that they took, and it's a good thing that we're going back to Raccoon City. Like super, never would have expected that. But the way they tied it in to come full circle back to Raccoon City by going into Outbreak lore blows my mind. Like that is absolutely incredible. I never would have thought of that.
It's an interesting. I said this in my video, like to make your protagonist the daughter of a character from a pretty obscure game from like 20 odd years ago that not that many people played. That is a strong move. It's a gamble for sure.
I like the Dr. Evil thing.
Yeah. That was my reaction when I saw it and I realized who she was meant to be. I was like,
yeah,
right. Where's this going?
That was kind of mine too.
Yeah. Because like I don't know.
Aren't you glad we got you to finally play it?
Yeah, so I had like a tiny bit of context for this. Like, I got to play it 20 years after it was made, so that was neat. Yep. It was a neat concept, right, for a game. Like, hey, what's more fun than, rather than playing Resident Evil by yourself, right? Get a bunch of your buddies, go into combat together, and get murdered by zombies together. It's what friends do, right? It's just that it came along maybe 3 or 4 years too early. If it had come on the PlayStation 3, one, the graphics would have been better, but two, like that internet would have been available for everyone. It was built into the console. It would have made much more sense. Doing it on the PlayStation 2 was just kind of a weird move. Yeah,
I agree. It was ahead of its time, right? It's a very lore-heavy game that I know a lot of people just don't know or appreciate because, it wasn't really that accessible to everybody, and online support wasn't what it is now. But also playing that game solo, I did when it came out, and I thought the areas and visiting Raccoon City was cool. I was like, "Damn, dude, this is hard." It was a difficult game to play, and so I can see why so many people may not. A lot of people are just like, "Who the hell's Alyssa Ashcroft?" But the game is great. You just had to have the online, and you had to have the friends to play with. And once you can communicate, man, it's classic Resident Evil, but with friends. And now it's actually important to, where we're going with the series. Who would have thought that we would have been playing as the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft. But it just opens the door to so many possibilities. And it's nice to see the love from Capcom for the Outbreak series. Now what are they? Are they going to remake the games, remaster them, port them, or are they just going to retell events? We don't know. But it's just nice to see that they're tapping into that lore.
I think at this point it would actually be pretty viable to remake the Outbreak games because the concept is there. Like, obviously, rebuild it completely just like you did with Resident Evil 2 and 3, give it the new engine, and yeah, you can just play online co-op Resident Evil with your friends. Like, that seems like a pretty good idea. It seems like an easy moneymaker for them.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like one of the only fun multiplayer games in the whole franchise, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want that classic experience, right? If you want like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, but with friends, like that's the way to go. And thankfully the fans still got the servers running online, but how it takes a little bit to set up. That, Drinker, when we had you setting it up.
Mine was all in Japanese until you guys helped me out, so that definitely made it easier.
Gotta guess.
Yeah,
well, it would be awesome if it was more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. There was a question here as well. From Unknown saying, so Rinker or Drinker, as the case may be, the leaks may be wrong. Yeah, I mean, we got all kinds of leaks that this was going to be, set on an island. It was going to have a death cult, and it was going to have Leon and Jill as the main characters. And obviously, so far at least, that seems to have been proven false. It does make me wonder if Grace is a bit of a red herring and she's not really the main character, or if she is, you play her for small sections of the game, and maybe you're going to have other characters as well that are playable.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping.
I mean,
that's what I'm thinking.
We all just want to see the main characters. It's been so long. I mean, 7 and 8 weren't really about arguably weren't really about any of the main characters. So I think we just want to see Leon, Jill, whoever.
So. I think as well, if you're going to do a 30th anniversary game, which is really what this is, we've already got the nostalgia to a degree with going back to Raccoon City. Like, okay, now give us some of the series regulars here. Give us a game that shows us where Jill and Chris and Barry and Rebecca and Leon and Claire are at this point, because those are the characters that people are super invested in, and they're like old friends at this point. I think we'd love to see that.
I feel like for a while now, the Resident Evil mainline entries have not been so actively integrating the storylines of the side entries. Even if you look at Resident Evil 5, you look at Wesker meeting Chris again for the first time there in that entry. He says, "We last met at the Spencer estate." So right there, it almost refuses to acknowledge Code Veronica. But if we have entries like 7 and now Requiem actively acknowledge Outbreak, because in 7 there was actually an article on the Ashcrofts, and we have like little inklings of that there, and that actually has the same director. Resident Evil 7 is the same director as Resident Evil 9 with Requiem, and so it looks like there's more of an active attempt to actually integrate the stories of the mainline entries with the side ones, which we just don't see happen very often, and it would be nice to pull those closer together, because for many, many months and even years now, people have been wanting stories from Revelations 1, Revelations 2 to be more closely integrated with Village and the later entries. A lot of people thought that Alex Wesker actually was the big vampire lady, Lady D, in Village before we actually understood that she was someone different, because it had happened so recently. And because we have a Wesker, Alex Wesker, alive in the canon in the body of a young girl, we thought, when is this actually going to become relevant? And maybe it's Village, but it wasn't Village, right? But now in Requiem, we have this actual very active attempt to integrate that sort of connection between the side entries and a mainline one. So
it'd be nice to see more of this. And there's elements of the, say for example, the Revelations series that I could do without, like the Terra Grigia references. I could do without that. That was going into crazy Dr. Evil space laser territory. I'd like it to be a little more grounded, but Revelations 2 particularly was very grounded. It was just set on an island, really, and there was only like vague references to all the nonsense from the first game. And so I'd like to see that integrated into things. It would be definitely nice to see like this older version of Claire again, who's a bit more experienced and now is more of like a trying to find her role as like a leader, and like she's now managing people and all that stuff. That would be neat as well.
That's also really relevant because if you look at Revelations 2, we have a bioweapon T Phobos that actually interacts with a neurotransmitter, interacts with the stress response. So
Yes.
it actually mutates in response to adrenaline and norepinephrine. That makes me think that Requiem, with all of this memory play and play with psychological horror, play with traumatic memories, there is going to be, we know from the trailer that there is an unidentified bioagent. We don't know what it is this late in the game, which is really important because we've seen so much, and this is still entirely new. Maybe it has symptoms that may superficially resemble stuff we've seen in the past, but for all intents and purposes, there's something new going on, and maybe that new bioagent will actually interact in a neurological sense, and it'll actually interact with neurotransmitters in a similar way. This is also something that's been done in Survivor. Very dark lore there with you have, again, the stress response actually catalyzing the mutation. So they might do that again. We'll see.
Man, I just want to fight zombies again. I miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Just
I don't want to.
just bring
I don't
back
wanna-
zombies.
Yeah, I don't want to fight like walking bits of mold or stuff like that, or like guys who are infected with a parasite that like makes them so close to being just angry humans that like it's almost indistinguishable, and so it's just like fighting soldiers. Yeah, I want some zombies again. Just give me that. I'll be happy.
Werewolves and vampires and
Oh yeah, that was rough.
I do think this director gets it though. Like I like say what you will about 7, and yeah, I'll agree it's not perfect, but like 7 was a major step in the right direction when the series needed it most, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
It recaptured a lot of what made Resident Evil. Now, new characters, new locations. Some people don't think it feels like a Resident Evil game, but it had the elements, and it was horror focused through and through. Different types of horror, but horror focused. Village, I think it made a lot of improvements, but as a horror game as a whole, I think 7 it was just better, well-rounded, right? Whereas Village felt like a focus group. You had your psychological horror, you had your Lady Dimitrescu, like classic horror, body horror, and then mechanical horror. But you had a giant robot, and it just got wacky. It got ridiculous. It was all over the place. It was a roller coaster ride.
7,
Whereas,
7 stripped it back.
Yeah,
like 7 was like kind of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Resident Evil, and
Yeah.
I think that it worked on that basis because like the Bakers were actually quite terrifying when you had to go up against them with very few weapons, feeling like you were completely unprepared for it. And it's humans ultimately hunting other humans. Yeah, they're like messed up by this by the pathogen they've been exposed to, but like they still are recognizably human. Whereas you get to like Village and once you're fighting things like werewolves and vampires and stuff, like you're very much into gothic horror, and as you say, it just gets cheesy and goofy, and it's like you can't take it seriously anymore. This is just, it's like I'm in a fantasy game or something. It's just nonsense, and I think Resident Evil used to do that. It used to stay. I say this loosely, right, but it used to stay somewhat believable, where it was like it's corporations doing like crazy bioweapons research, and it's gotten out of hand, and now the pathogen is spread, and like that's okay. It's kind of out there in terms of like what's possible, but it's somewhat believable. This is just too much.
Yeah, you need to retain that little bit of believability. That's kind of what makes Resident Evil is it's crazy, it's fiction, but it feels like it could happen. When it starts getting wacky and out there and a little too far, it kind of pulls you out, right? And I think that I'm hoping that this, with everything they've said about it going back to its roots and it being a horror game through and through, and even the acknowledgement that Village was a little too action heavy from Capcom, makes me think we're in a good position here.
Yeah. There's something I wanted to show you as well, right? It's from the trailer, and you can give your thoughts on this, because maybe I'm just being a bit nuts, but I'll see if I can skip to the right moment in it. Hold on.
I just did a whole breakdown, so it's all fresh in my mind. Let's see what we got, baby.
Yeah, it's when you get to like, I'll just let it play until you get to like the overhead of Raccoon City. This guy I want to talk about as well, because I'm kind of curious as to
a
lot of theories.
Any man who sits there in a dark room listening to a grandma, he's all right in my book. But okay, cast your eyes to the lower left side of the screen there. So this is Raccoon City. It's been bombed. Obviously, there's the crater up in the distance.
Yeah.
The buildings to the left there look awfully fresh, like undamaged. They just look normal. And I was wondering, like, is this some kind of hint that Raccoon City's getting rebuilt somehow?
Yeah, you mentioned. Okay, I remember you saying that in your video.
It's an interesting theory, and it does tie in with Outbreak. The post-credit scene in Outbreak, they had a crane over the crater, like they were rebuilding a laboratory or something. I mean, it could be. I just think it's the blast radius. Maybe the bomb wasn't a nuke; it was thermobaric.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't as big, and it left the buildings untouched that far from the blast radius. But it very well could be like a rebuild. I mean, that would remind me of Revelations, right? Terra Grigia.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Was it a nuke in the original and a thermobaric in the remake, or was it always a thermobaric?
I wanted to talk about that because I was looking at the Resident Evil wiki today, and apparently it was always a thermobaric. However, a lot of the media and outlets at the time kind of assumed that it was a nuke, and so they actually took that and thought like, oh, there may be radiation here, there may be potential for mutation based off of nuclear radiation. But apparently in all of the like official media, and if you look at the name of that initiative in the wiki pages as well, sterilization operation, it was always like kind of communicated as a thermobaric missile. Now there is also suggestion though that Umbrella may have taken advantage of folks assuming that that was a nuke, because then people assume that it is uninhabitable. They don't see it as safe to rebuild. And then therefore, them kind of like recouping and rebuilding in this area, it is much harder to suspect, right? So
well, exactly, yeah. And it's like, well, if you want to make a secret lab, then this seems like a good location, a supposedly irradiated city where no one can go. And like probably the government themselves would enforce a perimeter around it, saying like no one can get near this place, which is kind of an interesting possibility.
It's wild because like when it's crazy that's always been the lore. I thought at some point that was retconned and changed, but like when you think big mushroom cloud, you think nuke. So the fact that they thought about it back then, hey, let's make it thermobaric, makes me wonder if they ever like had early intentions of ever returning to Raccoon City. It's just such a small detail. You would like it doesn't seem like a big deal, but now we're going back, so maybe it was. I don't know.
Also, this is like another, like, just right off of that, this is a super small small detail related to the mushroom cloud thing. And this is from the Resident Evil wiki as an account on Reddit, saying basically, given the media, however, assumed it to be a nuclear weapon, referenced in Degeneration, right? So in Degeneration, the CG movie, there was reference to that being a nuke, a nuclear weapon. Given the mushroom cloud, which is often associated with nuclear weapons, but can appear in any sufficiently large explosion. So that can actually appear as if it was a nuke and still not be one. But I thought that was really fascinating. So shout outs to them.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like a mushroom cloud isn't related to like radiation or anything like that. It is literally just when you have a sufficiently large fireball, it will fold in on itself as it rises up into the air, creating a mushroom cloud. So yeah, like you say, even just a large conventional bomb can do it. It's just when you watch the original cutscene from Resident Evil 3 and even the remake of it, that like a thermobaric weapon, yep, they're definitely powerful, but they ain't that big. Like that mushroom cloud is 100%.
Yeah.
It's fine if they want to retcon it. Like I don't care that much. It's just it was definitely a nuclear blast that you saw. There's even a shockwave that almost takes down the chopper.
I would have to agree.
I don't know. I kind of think like a nuke with radiation kind of would have been cool. Like a Chernobyl Raccoon City with whatever survived mutated even further. Like at first that's what I thought, and I was like, oh shit, what are we gonna see here, right? Then I found out thermobaric, and I was like, okay, that works. That makes sense. But damn, Chernobyl Raccoon City would have been pretty cool.
It would be an easy mechanic as well. So say you had the ability to roam around the city, right? You could just make it so if the player strays too far off the certain like critical path, then the radiation levels will rise to the point where it just kills them. You know, and okay, you've got a decent mechanic there to keep someone going in the right direction. Without just having artificial walls everywhere or all the usual stuff. But yeah, I mean, well, we've got the old RPD there.
And if that were a mechanic too, that'd almost be like because Outbreak had that time-based mechanic of being infected, so you can't really like take your time and do stuff. But this would be like an environmental way to kind of like build that into like, hey, you can't you can't access everything. Your time is limited. So
yeah, as Hank says, it'd be like Metro 2033, but Resident Evil, which sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it, you rads, dude.
perfect.
Fallout 2. That scene right there of the RPD literally gave me chills. Like I was like,
Oh,
holy
dude.
crap! Like this, I'm going home. This is my home. Raccoon City RPD. Like that's always I started with 2, you know, and I played 2 and the remake of 2 a million times. Everybody who's on the channel knows that's like my go-to. And to see that 30 years later, I was like, holy shit, they're doing it.
Yeah. It's crazy that they're waiting until now. I feel like this should have been a game that should have came out years ago. You know, returning to the
perfect
city.
time.
Yeah,
Might
it's
be
perfect
perfect time,
timing
but
because
yeah.
it's 30 years, but it's like we've waited a long time for it.
Well, I think
Yeah.
to some extent
Wild,
we got it with the remakes of 2 and 3. Like, okay, we were seeing those
Yeah.
places
Yeah.
before they got blown up, obviously, but
Mhm.
you were still getting to experience them from a completely different perspective, like a very, you know, updated version, which was all very neat. But yeah, as you say, now we get to see it in the present day, for lack of a better description, and there it is. It's still kind of standing,
Yeah.
and you know,
That's
hopefully
crazy.
you get to look
Reminds me of
around inside it.
There was that early concept for Resident Evil 2 where they returned to the Spencer Mansion ruins and Wesker was still underneath. And I got a video on it. One of the first videos I put it on the channel, but it was a really interesting concept. And you've seen some of that make its way into Outbreak with the plant zombies. But it's
Yeah.
like, hey, they're tapping back into that idea now. Finally, it's crazy.
I always did think it would be cool to see what the Spencer Mansion looks like now as well.
Yeah,
I wonder if they might
had-
have that in this game. Like maybe they hint at it later or
they
something.
could.
Yeah.
You might return.
Yeah,
They have concept art on the Spencer Mansion destroyed with like webs and rubble everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like super old, like from that's like scrapped ideas from the original game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The video I did is called Dash, but I guess like the Dash was a mistranslation. It was actually 2, but regardless, yeah, that stuff does exist online.
It's cool if you look it up. It's super cool concept art and to see what it could have been like.
I like this one from Liger Noir. Rads or not, the Raccoon City would be cleared out by the army. Yeah, I would assume
Yeah.
so. They are not going to take chances. Like if they're
Yeah.
willing to drop
No.
bombs on this place, they want to make sure that there's no zombies left.
And I think
Nothing's
in
leaking.
Outbreak they did show like the army setting up a quarantine zone around the city, right?
They
In
did.
some cutscenes.
Shut her down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah, we get to see a little bit of the RPD. You get to see the inside,
Oof,
the iconic
crazy.
entrance hall with the statue, and yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's super cool.
This
That's what really got me super pumped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to play on the nostalgia a little bit, didn't they? I mean,
Yeah.
surely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, with this, like, I guess this is another outbreak happening. Looks like a guy's been bitten by a zombie.
Yeah. It's really hard to know if this is a flashback or if this is what you're going to be playing because they didn't really give us enough to really know. You don't know if these people are talking to Alyssa in a flashback or if they're talking to Grace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. This looks a lot like the RPD before it got destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of
It
does.
does.
The basic architecture and stuff looks pretty similar. And then let's see if I can skip back a little.
I haven't been able to find like where though. So like some people said it could be the school from Outbreak. Some people said it, there's just all these different theories out there because there's just bits and pieces. Could be a hotel. Like we don't really know yet.
Yeah.
Some people have suggested because this monster here that's coming down off the roof, it seems to have like manacles around its wrists. It's
Mhm.
like, could this be Lisa Trevor?
A lot of
So, I
people.
don't know.
That's like the biggest theory I see. I personally like. I thought right away it was like a flashback to Outbreak with the Regis liquor reaching down,
Mhm.
but now I think it's a dark theory. But I think it could be Alyssa, and she could have been there and been experimented on, and that's what she turned into. And now she's not dead, but she's just roaming the city.
Yeah.
And like you'll have to kill your mother, which is super dark. But like we don't know yet. Like it could be, or it could be Lisa Trevor just wandering the ruins of Raccoon City.
Mhm. There's
That
also-
is dark theory, actually. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think Tony, you mentioned that Lisa Trevor has those kind of shackles around her ankles, but her hands are actually shackled together. So like I don't know if that's like something that they would kind of redesign and still include Lisa, or if that's just kind of like that distinction is enough to make it something like entirely different. I also like am with JJ, like I kind of think that it is playing off of like what we see in Grace's flashbacks of being restrained and kind of like building that back to whoever may have wanted to capture and experiment on her mother Alyssa. Maybe, you know, for use of getting the daylight vaccine, or maybe retribution. You know, she is like apparently the perfect vessel. Maybe her and her daughter are both the perfect vessel in this case.
To add to that real quick, before we go on, I might be overlooking this. I've watched this trailer 1,000 times, but if you like see the flashes to Alyssa and you look at her nose and then you look at the creature's teeth at the end and you freeze frame it, it kind of does resemble the same shape. I do think that creature at the end for sure is whatever that creature is. Not 100% if it's Alyssa, but for sure that creature, the teeth, you can see its hair, the hair kind of coming off, and you can kind of hear the chains, and that like resembles a silhouette we've seen. So at least that thing I think for sure is that creature. Now if it's Alyssa, I don't know, but I'm looking into it, man. I'm going deep.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone, like, obviously that's the beauty of trailers like this, and it's definitely getting people talking. It's getting people interested.
Oh yeah,
and it's great to speculate. I'm going to see if I can find the bit you're referencing there, because it's like when you, because the bulk of the trailer is just this. It's like this interview with Grace. And
like I knew right away it was RE Engine graphics, but I was like, this is a really interesting, odd way to introduce the next Resident Evil. Like, how long are we going to be doing this CSI, intro?
It was like a CG film intro, because they often start in like a government office in those films. So
I keep missing it.
It's really hard to get that freeze frame, but she has like a distinctive like shaped nose, and it kind of looked like that.
Yeah. There's speculation like, who could this chap be?
Oh yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit too, because I think we talked about this a lot the other day, but one thing that I found again on a Reddit post, this is like just the goodies there, but you see like his shirt, you see like the white collar. So you see it's like kind of like popped up. It looks very similar to a character in Outbreak as well, named Albert Lester, not to be confused with Albert Wesker. And Albert Lester is the Axeman. And so the Axeman, actually, like the basic story is like basically he was bribed to do illegal trials on cancer patients, and they actually did work, but there were side effects, and his wife became a zombie. And he became this like kind of serial killer, like Axeman type guy. And I was thinking like to kind of disguise him, because if he had an axe, it would be like too immediate, like who he was. I think to disguise him, they made him like choke out a guy with a bag instead of
you can't have Axeman with no axe.
Yeah, but if you pull him up in like
unbelievable,
like Albert Lester's his shirt and like the V and like the white, it looks just like that. It's like that's who I think that is.
That's interesting.
I thought the Axeman didn't have a shirt.
Yeah, he took it off, dude. He was shirtless Axeman.
But if you look at him when he was a doctor, then you see his shirt. When he's just Al Lester, you see his shirt. But then when you see him as Axeman,
I prefer the shirt.
I got a deep theory. If you're open to theories, I got Chris from Monster Shop, who I've been chatting with all day, and he sent me a really deep one that I had no idea, blew my mind. And totally could be legit. I mean, personally, I think it might be Spencer, but do you guys want me to read Chris from Monster Shop's theory on who that guy is?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
It's pretty deep. Okay. He says, in Outbreak, Dr. Mueller is a researcher. He was giving the strain of the T virus to patients in Raccoon City Hospital as a test cure for cancer. First patient dies. Second patient is a woman, Dorothy Lester. Blah, 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 blah. He thinks it's, goddamn, where is it? Trust me. Bailey.
Brandon Bailey?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to find where.
That theory too. I'll tell you why in a second.
Yeah, he says, are you sure Brandon Bailey is not the man behind all of this? Think about this. He was Marcus's right hand during the creation of the T virus. Once he is cut out of work because of the 1998 incident, he forms the Connections. Now, the Connections are in Resident Evil 7, and I think they're referenced a little bit in Village, but more so in 7.
Yeah.
Evelyn gets transported to America on the ship. Another incident occurs. Then the BSAA mentions that Bailey's whereabouts are unknown. Remember, they never went back to the Connections. They kind of left that alone. But he was still the leader of the Connections. The director of Resident Evil 7 is directing Resident Evil 9. He also put Alyssa's report in Resident Evil 7. do you think there is a connection? No pun intended, but no, 100%. Like, holy shit, he's just revisiting the idea he had before somebody else took over the direction, right?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that
exactly.
make the most sense? Is like he set this up in 7. It's kind of like the freaking Star Wars 7, 8, and 9.
That's
where,
what
like,
I
they
was
set
thinking
something up
about
in
this whole
7,
thing.
8 wins somewhere else, and they try to bring it back in with 9. Like like when I read this, I was like, dude, holy shit! Like, yeah. Same
Exactly.
director, same setup, now just returning. Like, holy crap, you're onto something, dude.
I totally see it because that goes all the way back to the progenitor virus as well. So Brandon Bailey was he's now like a disillusioned pupil of James Marcus. He goes all the way back to the beginning, and he's understood to be the founder of the crime syndicate, the connections that actually is responsible for the events in RE7, the Dolby incident, right? So, and there was also another weird tie there in 7 that like, it wasn't just the connections that created the mold. It was also HCF. HCF is Wesker's like paramilitary branch of like the rival organization that he used to get T Veronica in Code Veronica. So that was actually both of them. But I could totally see them bring it back to Brandon Bailey because he's like the last kind of fallen seed out of Spencer's original flock that would actually like, it would make sense because that would tie together 7 bits of Village with 9 and bring it back to Raccoon City. I think that would be smart.
So I
didn't think we were going to go this deep, did you?
I know, like, damn, you're losing me even on this stuff.
Well, this dude, he was a character introduced in 7.
He was introduced way earlier than 7. He was in 5. So if you look at the files of the reports in Africa about when Marcus went to Africa to get the Sonotrop flowers and extract the progenitor virus from those special flowers, like the Garden of Eden, but like Resident Evil's Garden of Evil, basically, his pupil in that whole Africa expedition was Brandon Bailey. Brandon Bailey understood what Marcus and Spencer were really trying to do with all this eugenic stuff, fell out of that whole eugenics belief system, and then began to basically wreak havoc and create like the connections.
Yeah.
So
bro, drinker, we just hijacked your stream, dude.
I know, like, God, I've opened the floodgates to this stuff. I do like the theory that it's just Billy from Resident Evil 0. Like, we need a game that just brings together all these lost characters, like, you know, Shiva from Resident Evil 5, Billy from Resident Evil 0, just like people that have never been mentioned again. It's like, come on, give them a chance. Let's see where they're at now.
I'm on board.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. So many people say they want to see everybody return for the 30th, and while I get that, and like I understand, like it would be really great to see what happened with all these characters, it's almost like you're asking for another convoluted story that's just way too much
RE6 or something.
one game. You don't want RE6 again, you know?
I mean, it could be as simple as, you know, Grace gets sent in to investigate this thing. She gets captured and experimented on, and, you know, Leon and Claire have to join forces to go get her, or, you know, Chris and the gang have to reform, like gather together their original buddies from Stars to do it. Just something like that. I feel like it would be super nice fan service. I think it would like give us a little update on where these characters are in life now, because they're obviously quite a bit older. I just think it would be a neat way to tie it back to the original game.
No, I'm down for that. Yeah, like a bait and switch. You think it's Grace, but it's actually she goes there. You play as her little investigative part, and then that's just like they did that with 7, where you played as the swamp gators. Remember where you played as them? In the house. It was just like a lost tape, and then it was actually Ethan. It could be like that, and you might play as like, dude, that people lose their shit if like they teased like Chris or Leon or just any character that I feel like it's got to be like one of the original characters though for the 30th, right? It can't just be like a random.
Has to
you can't just have the returnability.
Yeah.
It has.
I think so. And like it would be criminal not to do it at this point. It would be in such a storied series, and we've really been without all of these characters for 10 years now at least since Resident Evil 6.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. We had our little like jaunt with Ethan Winters, and I know Chris was in it, but like he was kind of a presence rather than a character. I think it's about time to reconnect with some of these guys, and this is the ideal time to do it. It'd be a shame if they didn't.
I think you could do it properly too. Like you don't have to do the whole Avengers Assemble thing like Death Island. You can integrate characters in a story strategically, so it's not that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm kind of curious as well because like when you get this shot where the camera pans out on her, she seems to have a bandage around her chest, like someone's been she's been wounded like while trying to escape or something, or she's been like operated
Bitten?
on. It's
Yeah.
well, it's hard to tell, but something is clearly going on there.
I think whatever she's going through right now is exactly what her mom went through, except her mom didn't. She mutated. That's my theory.
Right.
And she's
Okay.
the key. She's the answer. She's the one that whatever they're doing to her will bond with her, so she doesn't mutate into whatever that shackled thing is.
Mm-hmm. So it almost seems
Right.
like there's multiple parties pursuing her and what's inside of her body. What may be the vaccines, right? For their own purposes. There may be Albert Lester, the X-Man, going after it for, I don't know what happened. Maybe he thinks he's still seeing his wife. Spencer could be going after it to further his thing about, even though he's dead, right? This is probably a flashback. Maybe
No one's ever truly gone in Resident
Yeah.
Evil.
This is true.
I'm waiting for some clone of Albert Wesker to come back at some point.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't like the
Like the Netflix
clones. I'm glad they
series,
moved
yeah.
away from that after 6, dude. Like, because when you open up the door to clones and time travel, you open Pandora's box. It's like,
Dude,
there's
I
no
would love to
stakes
see
anymore.
a time machine in Resident
Oh
Evil.
God.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
That's
You
the
just
30th
can't, man.
anniversary. There's a time machine at the end of the game, and they go back to the beginning.
Yeah. Could you imagine like present day Chris, like going back to like the
Holy
Chris
shit.
from 1996 Resident Evil?
He'll just look at Charlie and be like, "No, don't go."
He just like reaches back through like the time portal. Don't open that door.
Don't open
Yeah.
that door.
What if he loses his jackedness then? That'd be
Yeah,
unfortunate.
he would look at his past self and be like, "Oh my god, you're so weedy."
Pathetic.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this guy then? Is the theory seems to be that it could be Spencer in some form or another, but
Yeah, that was my theory. Like my strongest theory was leaning towards that until I read Chris again from Monster Shop's theory about it being that Bailey guy.
Mhm. It could be Bailey reminiscing on something that Spencer told him, though, and then losing faith in Spencer's efforts with that whole eugenics circle that he assembled with like the Ashfords and Marcus and Bailey and him kind of falling out of there because everyone's fallen out of that circle at this point. Marcus has done his own thing. Wesker's done his own thing. You know, all of them want to recreate humanity in a sense, but they want to do it in their own ways, and maybe Bailey's is another vision of that. So,
The only thing I can say, like almost for sure, is like the guy that's choking people out. I think is that same guy that's sitting by the fire. Everything else is just speculation at this point because we don't know.
yeah. I do like this as well. I wonder if Kendo is still in Raccoon City.
Oh my God, we talked about this. If we go through Raccoon City and we see his corpse on the ground in the gun shop, just his bones, just
Yeah.
pay respects, put down a little flower.
They really improved his
Cry.
character. Like when I think about the Kendo from the original RE2, like how goofy his voice
yeah.
was. Like, oh, sorry about that, babe.
Yeah.
Now
Hold
we'll
on.
see if we do. We'll see Resident Evil 2 remake Kendo, but what I want to see is Resident Evil original 2 Kendo in the gun store on the ground, fallen hero.
Yeah.
Isn't there a mod cut where Kendo you can play as Kendo and he goes back in time or
oh,
something?
it's his hero.
Yeah,
He's
oh,
the
he-
hero.
This guy.
He literally opens the Resident Evil multiverse, and it's all the time travel. It's just all the wackiest shit you could ever think of.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a good mod because it's just so wild, dude.
It's his fantasy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like there's some wild mods out there. I mean, I've played the randomizer for RE1 with you
Oh, yeah.
guys. Like that was quite the experience.
That gets wild.
Oh yeah,
dude.
you open like the closet for the keeper's room, and there are like 3 sharks
There's
swimming around.
sharks swimming through air. Yeah, sure.
I didn't even know there's settings in that we didn't use, but you can enable NPCs. So it's just random characters throughout the game that are just doing shit. And every once in a while, they'll offer you assistance.
Interesting.
It's like a quest game.
Because when we played it, it's like I ended up playing as Albert Wesker, and like whenever he's talking to characters, he just says random bits of dialogue from Wesker. So like you meet Rebecca, who's actually Helena Harper, and it's like, do you want to take her with you? And he goes, I don't know, investigate if you hear any gunfire, and then Helena just goes, "Holy shit!" Okay.
So it's like randomizer is just a fever dream, dude.
Yeah. I like this one as well. Imagine if you find Joseph Frost's corpse on the grounds in the Arklay Forest in front of the ruins of the Spencer Mansion.
Oh man,
That would be fan service right there. But I'd be for it if we're traveling back through the woods, man. Hell yeah.
There's almost a game to be had there of like Corpse Hunter. It's like we're just going to find the dead bodies of all these RE characters like throughout the
Bravo
series.
team as well.
You would get a Samurai Edge by doing that, because they dropped it. His arm had the gun in it.
That is true. Yeah, that's true.
Trophy.
Yeah, like this one. I want a mod where they swap Kendo's Claire voice lines with Leon. Leon walks into the shop. Sorry about that, babe.
I made a video about that. Swap the lines.
It's his abandoned shotgun next to his decomposed skeleton. It's really funny if you're playing as Claire because it's not a shotgun, it's like a bow gun or something.
Yeah.
And it's just the weakest thing. Like, when the zombies burst through the window and he tries to shoot one and you just hear this noise. Like, it's so weak.
Little dart.
Dude, I had that in my head forever. It was weak, and I think it was because of Code Veronica. The bow gun, unless you have the explosives, is basically useless in Code Veronica. But I went through and I used it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is way stronger than I remember." That thing's mean in Resident Evil 2, dude.
Well, that's because in RE2 you get 3 bolts that fire out from it. So it's like triple the damage if you hit your target, all of it and everything. But yeah,
it's like a shotgun, isn't it? Because like it spreads out as it goes, doesn't it? So you got to get close with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Code Veronica, it's you get like 200 of them, but they're weak unless you use the powder. Those are so good with the enhanced powder.
It's just porcupine quills, dude.
Yeah, basically.
The funnest character to play with the bow is Krauser. I think.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That thing's a beast.
Can I just read this one out here from Elsie Le Pen? Feels like there's been a lot of interesting video game news lately. The new Resident Evil definitely has my hopes up. Can't say the same for the new James Bond. Yeah, I need to make a video on that one as well, actually.
What do you guys think of the new James Bond?
I don't know.
I've stayed away from the trailer so far because I wanted to wait until it was time to make the video. So I still don't know. But a lot of people have been asking me whenever I've done a gaming stream. It's like, what are your thoughts on the new James Bond game? So yeah, it's either amazing or terrible.
Yeah, the new Bond, not a fan of. Really, I'm sure he'll be fine, but the game looks good.
Yeah,
I just don't get a Bond vibe from when I watch that trailer. That's the problem. To me, I don't know. It looks cool.
No spoilers for Drinker.
Doesn't Bond.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a pick for the next Bond, like cinematic Bond? Would you pick someone?
Henry Cavill, maybe.
Seems to be the consensus.
Giga Chad Bond.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of good picks. Yeah.
I want Pedro Pascal.
Oh dear God!
That man needs more roles. Clearly,
yeah, dude. Mandalorian as Bond. Let's go.
Yeah,
he's in everything.
Honestly, I shouldn't have said that because someone from Hollywood will have heard this and be like, "Yeah,
we'll do it.
That's right. We need him."
Yeah,
it's such a stupid idea. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna do it just to piss Drinker off.
Got him.
Great review fodder, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Scottish Michael.
Bella Ramsey. Oh God.
Yeah. Oh God. Jesus. Imagine her as a Bond girl. I think I threw up a little.
All
bit.
5 feet of it have to put her on steps.
Scottish Michael says, "Do we really need another Leon game, guys? No, we need another Chris Redfield game. God damn it!
Yeah,
or a Joe Valentine
like the
game.
30th. Chris would be more fitting, right? I'd like to see Leon again, but like Chris, we're going back to, I like that they're going back to the RPD, and that's amazing to go to Raccoon City. But like, if you're going back, Spencer Mansion, it was destroyed, but so was Raccoon City, and we're going back. I'm hoping that there's something that brings us back to the Spencer Mansion. And if it's Chris that's going to go in, that could be their trilogy. They started 7 with just a little tidbit of Chris at the end. Then Village was like all of Ethan. All of a sudden you're like, holy crap, the game's completely shifted over to Chris. And now this becomes Chris's game. That'd be crazy.
I just think it would be difficult to tie together the story of what we've seen at the end of Village with what's going on in Old Raccoon City, because is there going to be this sort of aspect of investigating why the BSAA was actually deploying bioweapons themselves in this entry itself, or is that just going to really further complicate what's already going on with the Ashcrofts and potentially Leon? Might be a little bit much for Chris too.
What if it all leads back to the connections bag?
That
what they're operating out of Raccoon City.
But again, see there, it's like it's still there's almost like too many affiliations involved. I feel right because the connections weren't the ones that deployed the BOWs at the end of Village. It was the BSAA. So it was almost like Chris going to investigate his own herd on what they were doing. They were already giving signs of corruption, right? Prior, even RE7 with their failure, their incompetence at the Dulvey incident, and then them covering it up in the media, right? And then 8 was like the final straw. Now we're not picking that up, but we're going somewhere else, and to integrate all of that with Chris and the BSA again, that just seems like a little much. But maybe it'll give it more context.
Moral of the story: the BSAA is junk because they always get infiltrated. It just happens.
I do like this one from Gold's Crotalus. Jill Valentine, she literally hasn't been in a chronological game since RE5, and that was only like a cameo, really. It's hard time to shine again. It is.
Okay,
I agree.
I would be good with that. Her over Chris, that would be fine.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because I know we saw her in Death Island, but like that's one of those goofy CGI movies, and they're kind of like, I'm pretty hazy on how canonical they are to the games. So I want to see her do stuff again. It's been long enough with Joe.
If they bring her back, I would like to hear Nicole Tompkins play her role a little more, I guess, seriously than I just couldn't take Jill seriously in the remake. She's a great voice actress, but I just couldn't get behind the way they portrayed her.
On through remake.
Yeah.
They gave her quite a different personality. She was a lot more confrontational and abrasive than she was in the original game. Yeah, and like it was Virgin right on the brink of just being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, and I didn't like that so much. But she had some good lines as well. Like some of her banter with Carlos was okay, I thought. Because he gives as good as he gets sometimes, which is nice. Actually, there's one here. Ollie saying, "Bring back Carlos." Yeah. I'm sick of living in a cold, cruel, Carlos-less world.
That's right.
Yeah. A lot of people think that's his voice in the trailer.
Yeah.
I won't lie, it does sound like him, and it's got that demeanor that he has. Jeff Shine did Chris and Carlos, but it sounds more like it would have been him doing Carlos and Chris.
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like both of them.
We need like Resident Evil: The Leftovers, right, where Carlos joins forces with Billy Cohen and Shiva, and just like they go on a mission together. I'm putting together a team.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The B team.
I don't know if you can sell the leftovers, but I like it.
I actually already have the perfect name for that. Hear me out. Just Resident Evil Remnants. And it's just all the people who've never gotten another story.
I like that.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
The Resident Evil Thunderbolt.
Resident
Evil's Thunderbolts. Yeah.
There we go. There's our next fan film, guys.
We are Thunderbolts.
Start raising money, JJ.
It practically raises
Oh shit! All right, honestly. I'm on it. Who wants to pitch? It's all going to my PayPal, baby.
It's all going to the PayPal.
What's this one here? I know I'm being cheap, but I can't. Sorry, can I get each of you saying Retro Vertigo individually for me to record and include on my YouTube vid channel intro?
Oh man, that sounds very incriminating. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm game for this. All right, I'll go first, and if you guys feel like doing it, it's up to you. But Retro Vertigo. There you go.
All right, I'll go. Retro Vertigo.
Retro Vertigo.
Retro Vertigo.
Retro Vertigo.
All right, there you go.
That was badass. Dude, that just rolls off the tongue.
It does indeed. Yeah. I was thinking as well, because we had other Resident Evil news, which has kind of been overshadowed by Requiem, but the fact that Resident Evil 2 and 3 are going to be available on the PlayStation Store pretty soon. Like
that's huge. Yeah.
Which is nice. I don't know why they haven't done it already. It's such an easy, obvious win.
Yeah.
I guess they did for PS3, but then they just didn't after that. And that's the thing that sucks with this no backwards compatibility stuff, and everybody gets very excited when they announce a game is coming back, and I do too. But at the same time, like if we didn't do this no backwards compatibility bullshit, we'd still be able to play our PlayStation games in our PlayStation 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like you're double charging, but I am glad that they're doing it. I am very grateful that more people will get to play it and that they're bringing it back again. Like that's a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, like it's how I stream as well, like through the PlayStation 5. So like to have those games available there, just ready to go, it's great because I had a lot of fun streaming Resident Evil, the first one. Just trying to do it as quickly as possible and all that stuff. And like, okay, I can do the same thing with 2 and 3. And it's been quite some time since I've played both of those games, so it'll be a nice refresher. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Director's Cut played really well. It had that really nice rewind feature. If you're just chilling
was
and
great.
Playing, you get
that saved my bacon at one point, man, because I got killed by 2 hunters in a fucking corridor, and I was like, "Shit, I'm halfway through my playthrough. What do I do? Do I start again?" And then I just exactly after about a minute, I realized, "Oh wait, I can rewind."
Yeah, no, it's a
Convenient
perfect feature to have in there, honestly, because 2 and 3 are very beloved, obviously, and the problem is in this day and age that we live in, every time I go to a video game store, I see Resident Evil like 1, 2, and 3, and all of them are reaching like anywhere between $60 to $100 now. And it's crazy to think that because there's so many copies of those things, and yet like there's no way to get it. So now, like, thanks to this, you're able to do it. Because the last time these things were available on anything was the PlayStation 3. You could get 1, 2, and 3, and Dino Crisis 1 and 2, Metal Gear Solid, a bunch of classics back then. And then for whatever reason, 4 didn't have it, and 5 was like, yeah, let's start doing that, but only trickle it out here and there so we can keep people interested in our premiums and bullshit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well because I've actually taken my game discs from like the original PlayStation for 1, 2, and 3 and put them in like a display case. Like they're framed on the wall and stuff, and they look lovely. But it's like it's a pain in the arse to get them out again. So I'm like, I need something else.
Yeah. You posted a picture of that or something, or sent me something maybe. I think I saw
posted
that.
I think I put it on Twitter or something. Because I was like, this looks really nice when it's
it does look pretty dope.
But
I think I replied and I was like, how the hell are you supposed to play them? They're locked away. What are you doing?
I should put like a sticker, like breaking case of Resident Evil emergency or something.
Yeah, the little emergency breakaway hammer.
If someone's asking here, Drinker, what's your opinion on Grace Ashcroft? I have never heard of her. It came out before I was born, so I don't know. So like Grace is obviously a new character. It's the daughter of Alyssa. My knowledge of the Outbreak games is based entirely on what I got from you guys when we were playing it one night when I was drunk. And so
I was probably drunk too, and I probably gave you a bunch of misinformation, but it's all good. It's your new canon, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know anything about Grace. She's like a clean slate, really. She looks interesting enough from the trailer. She's not a girl boss or anything from what I can tell. So like that feeds into the horror element of your character being kind of unprepared and vulnerable. I think that's quite fitting for this. So we'll see where it goes. But like, I think there's a lot of potential there.
She's like anxious enough, like not getting her work done on time. So definitely fearful, anxious person.
I mean, there's a bit of visual storytelling going on there. Like her desk is all cluttered with files and shit. And then when she's got to go to the director's office, she's like dropping stuff and tripping over things. It's like it's kind of clumsy.
Dude.
Yeah.
She'd be tripping over shit while you're playing as her. You're just trying to survive and she's just bumping into things.
But no, I mean, I think it's nice, like, after having quite a drought of Resident Evil news and new stuff going on, to get the news that 2 and 3 are going to be available soon for PlayStation owners, and you can get them now and re-experience them. And also, more importantly, Requiem is on the way, and it's coming out in February of next year, so it's not that far off. It's good stuff, and I think I'm going to be very interested to see where this game goes.
Same. Yeah, interesting. They're connecting it to Outbreak. We'll see what happens.
Exotic Player here says, really hyped for Resident Evil 9 next year. I'm glad that Ethan Winters' character is done. So am I.
Yeah.
Which old Resident Evil characters do you hope will make an appearance in RE9? Yeah, I mean, I've said, man, I want the stars to reunite. If I could have anything, if someone said that you can get characters from any game to have a reunion or whatever in this one, it would probably be get the surviving characters from the first Resident Evil, reunite for one last mission, and god damn it, I want Barry Burton in there too, even if he's an
Fucking
old
dude.
man now.
Yes.
I want him to make dad jokes and everything, and
Yeah.
Grandpa jokes.
yeah.
We need the I have this one more time.
Oh yeah,
Just one more.
Revelations 2, man. That
Yeah.
genuinely got a laugh out of me the moment he did that.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
cool
Oh,
son of a
dude.
I
bitch.
literally flipped like my shit when I was so
Yeah.
happy. I was like, this game is great, but that was the icing on the cake.
You know what though? That was so cool. The greatest part of that game was when you read that dude's note.
I know what you're gonna say.
Everything is written in plain English, even though you're on this Russian island. And then for some reason, you run into this old Russian man. But the developers of the game took their time and they went out of their way to write his note as if you're reading it from someone writing it in Russian. And you have that Borat accent going through your mind. It's like, whoever did that was genius. Yeah.
What we got here? Retro Vertigo. Cheers, guys. Got Justin Wong and
Cool.
MLIG so far to do it, so it'll look ace. As a channel intro for gaming vids, keep up the good, guys. Live do a vid for you one day. Nice one, man. Thank you. And I hope it works out well for you.
Oh, shit. He got Justin Wong. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's
Big
cool.
fighting game guy. He's like one of the best Marvel versus Capcom 2 players on the planet.
Oh, he's like one of the best like every fighting game ever players
Pretty
ever.
much, too, yeah. But
Yeah.
MVC2 is like his pot of gold for him.
Mhm.
Damn. Chances of seeing Hunk again?
Oh man.
I don't know, man. It really depends on the direction they want to go. And if anything, I would assume a bonus mode, but I don't know. I mean, he's still like a mercenary now, not working for Umbrella anymore. Or is he still working for Umbrella? Actually, there might be something to that.
He'd
I
probably
want to
be
see.
like
I want to see
around.
Tofu.
Tofu.
I want to see
Hell
him make a
yes.
comeback.
He's still in Raccoon City. Just all
Fully
shriveled up.
I'd see him fully rendered in the RE engine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want
How
to see every
old-
little dimple on his tofu surface.
Hunk
You'd
would
be
be like what,
pretty-
60 or something now?
I don't know what age he was in
I don't know how old he
RE2s.
was.
Yeah, there was
It's not
never
cool.
really any like information on his age or anything of where he's from or who
Yeah,
he is.
Not much of anything.
He's just there, you know?
Well, he had to have been between at least 20 and 50 in the first Resident Evil, or in the first Resident Evil 2. So
Yeah.
I don't know. He might be an old man now.
Here's a question. Do you think we'll get legit ports of Resident Evil 2 Remake, RE3 Remake, RE7 and Village on the Switch 2?
Ooh.
Does it
I
matter?
think so.
Does it matter?
Not to you. You don't play Switch 2.
That's the spirit.
I mean, I hope we see
Who
it because,
fucking
like,
cares?
the more we see these games get proper ports and stuff, the more they have the chance to make money, and you know, you can play these things on the go and stuff. Because that's the one thing that, like, when I went to England years ago, I have a huge fear of flying, and I had my PlayStation Portable, and that's what got me through that flight, was being able to play Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on the PSP, and you know, so having it on the Switch and having it on the go like that's pretty dope. And I mean, I think at this point they understand their technological what the Switch is, because I remember the Switch tried to run RE7 and it like blew up the console or something like that. It was like it couldn't run properly at all with 7, but like I think they've learned since then now, and I do hope so, because again, the more these units are sold on various things, because if you just keep kind of things like to one console, you're not going to make the money, because all these big corporations want, oh, we need to hit the numbers that Call of Duty is hitting. It's like, well, one, that's Call of Duty, and two, that's on multi-platform. Like, you're not going to hit that by keeping it to 1 or 2 consoles, you know?
Yeah.
I just think make it more accessible to people that might want to get into the series, grow the
Yeah.
community. That's better for us all in the long run.
Well, imagine like maybe not open world, but like a co-op Resident Evil gaming experience that was multi-platform, so you had cross-play enabled.
Dude, I was
That
thinking
could
if they
be-
remade 0, they could totally make that like a co-op survival horror, but slow it down like Lost in Nightmares from Resident Evil 5, but like more like Resident Evil 2's gameplay.
Well,
So good.
imagine, for example, you could do the Call of Duty approach as well, actually, where you're a team sent into Raccoon City to try and contain the outbreak. You've got to fight off hordes of zombies, complete missions, and so on.
Wasn't
and
that
you've
called
got-
Operation
Operation
Raccoon
Raccoon City.
Well, yeah, but like
Yeah.
now,
Yes.
like obviously we can
We're
do
gonna
it.
play it or what?
Yeah, we could do it in a much more effective way that actually like
way more
you know,
effective. Yeah.
fits with the
Yeah.
modern
Yeah.
gaming the modern gaming technique of it. And I think you could have a lot of fun with that.
Oh,
if
hell
you were
yeah.
willing to do it. Hold on.
That would be
100%.
cool. Play as like the UBCS clearing out zombies.
Yeah. Oh, I like this one. Drinker, Grace Ashcroft versus Grace Randolph. Who would win? Grace Randolph, I think, would just talk her into oblivion, and just Ashcroft would just give up. It's like, just make her stop, please.
Oh, let the zombie bite me. Just let it end.
Yeah. Sorry, loving the discussion. What I want to know is, will we have a merchant in this game, and what will he or she be like? Hoping for a girl merchant this time. Yeah, give some representation. It's been we've been too many like either like Skeletor looking guys or like massively fat dudes.
Here's a theory. What if the dude choking out people is the new merchant and he's just killing the competition?
Oh my god!
Right?
That
And
is
JJ's
record.
JJ keeps
watch
putting
them
the other.
One because you're gonna be buying from him.
Yeah, you can watch them murder a bunch of people, and then you awkwardly have to like interact with them. Like, oh, just here to buy some ammo if that's okay.
No more weapon lords. It's just him, man.
I was gonna say too, like, what kind of merchant is like sticking around in the ruins of like Raccoon City, like where just like where the money is.
Business
It's like Spiegel from Lord of the Rings. This is my city.
My city.
Exactly.
Cheers, drinker and guests. Got a crazy theory for you. The mysterious man in Resident Evil 9 is George Hamilton from Outbreak. Look at his jawline. They both have the same open collar shirt.
Does he have a collar
The
like
doctor.
Albert Lester too? All of them have the same shirt collar. Wait, hang on.
I mean, that's just a shirt that anybody can have.
Yeah,
True.
it's a pretty standard shirt.
Oh, I guess
collar.
you're right. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
my theory is like
The collared
just as
shirt.
strong as like any other guy with that shirt.
I keep seeing these images online where like they'll put a picture of Nemesis and then they'll point to the big crater.
Yeah.
And then they'll have a little circle next to it. Like, do you see Nemesis there?
He's just still looking for the
Someone
stars
put like a
after
net
30
park
years.
and
Like,
shit like that. I see the same
stars?
Like a
Just
question
take
mark.
a break.
thing. Yes,
Take a
hey,
break, big
leave me
guy.
alone.
Yeah.
Sit this one out.
What we got here? Scott Alker says, "I'd like to see Deadly Silence ported out. Arguably the best version of RE1."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was up until Seamless HD. That was hands down my favorite version. You could play as freaking Forest Spire in a bonus mode. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah, no, like they had that was just a great game, a great port that added to it. Like they added like little puzzles you could play. Like you actually had to perform CPR on Richard by blowing into the microphone that's built into the DS. It was such a really good, and if like you did it too much, like you would hurt him or something, if I remember correctly. It's been a-
You had to give him
Lungs would
multiple on
explode
your
or something.
DS.
yeah, no, you do. You
What
literally
the
have to go
hell?
like it's insane. And then like you got to do like what was that knife game that they did from Aliens where they're doing the knife thing on the table? You have to
Oh,
do the
yeah, with the
same
hand.
thing. Yeah. You got to
Oh,
do
yeah.
the same thing for one of for the things. There's a hand and you got to hit the light up buttons with the stylus pen. Such a great port, man. I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
probably my second favorite way to play RE1. My favorite is still the Sega Saturn version. Love that
Wow.
shit.
Shout
I
out
like
to
this.
shout out to Scott, by the way. He's helping out with Resurrection.
Nice.
Thank you,
Uh,
Scott.
Think,
Lindsay says, "I wonder if Tricell is going to make another appearance in RE5. They were propped up as the next Umbrella. Yeah, they just kind of faded
Yeah,
out after that,
that's-
didn't they?
Yeah.
It's like
I
all
don't know
these
if they're going to continue that storyline.
Yeah, all these companies
I
just
would-
seem to like come into existence, and they're these big bads, and then they all just get taken off the map, like off screen, like Umbrella stonks crash.
don't-
and fucking
Yeah.
Well, actually, technically, in the remake universe, right, they never really discussed the fall of Umbrella.
That's
Like,
true.
yeah, obviously, we know how Umbrella fell in the original games, but in this new universe they're setting up, they never actually specifically explained how Umbrella collapsed or if it collapsed. They
You know
didn't have that
what?
intro in Resident Evil 4 Remake.
I was
It's
gonna say
true.
something and then you added something to it, but what I was gonna say was that
took it.
the with Tricell specifically, there was like a little bit of coherence with that and like Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, where you see what is his name? Wilson? Wilson. Yeah, that's his name. He's like this sort of snake in the grass in Infinite Darkness. And there he's actually working for Tricell, and that's like one of the only like instances that you see like outside of the games, outside of Resident Evil 5, mention of Tricell, but then 7, 8, potentially 9, like the connections in Brandon Bailey is like kind of like the ongoing rival organization. And that was also kind of, if you recontextualize that with like what was in the series earlier, there's this rival company, and it was the same one that actually Wesker worked along with to get T Veronica with HCF and Code Veronica. That same organization was also thought to be the connections because they were sort of Umbrella's competitor. So it's almost like Brandon Bailey's organization was like Spencer's like direct competitor, getting weapons to basically like create these new bioweapons that are like owned by a different person. So
now he's choking them all out in the trailer.
Yeah.
Just remake Outbreak for Resident Evil multiplayer. Yep.
Yes.
No argument there. This is really good fun.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Here we go. Prime Wesker versus Prime Sauron. Who wins?
Oof.
This is like celebrity deathmatch
Dude,
right here.
Epic battle for sure.
I mean, if Sauron had the one ring, I feel like Wesker, as cool as he is, probably wouldn't be able to take that on. So I think Sauron might be able to take him on this one. Yeah,
I could agree with that. Yeah.
We talked in open bar about this. Like, say you had Sauron versus like Thanos with all the Infinity Stones, who would win then? It's like, okay, it's a bit more of a contest right there.
Yeah.
And Edwin says, "I'm very disappointed in my boy Leon. Isn't the main character? Plus, he's 49 in this timeline." Yeah,
we don't know that
he
yet.
might be the main character.
Yeah.
Plus, like, characters in Resident Evil don't really age like normal people.
That's true.
Because you can totally tell, like, they thought to themselves, we don't want to have Jill look old because we want her young and hot. So it's like, I don't know. She got exposed to the T virus and it stopped her aging. Okay, good enough. Like, let's go with that.
It's also like every other like woman who gets infected by like any virus ever also stops aging. So like Claire and like
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, what's happening to all these women? It's a mystery.
Yeah. I don't think
I aged Leon up in my latest leak video. Oh, sorry. I aged him up, and in the comments, they lost their mind. They were like, why'd you make him ugly? Why'd you make him look like this? I mean, he's older. Like, that's how he would look, but all right.
Huge problem.
Yeah.
I do think the Resident Evil games need to start dealing with this a little bit more. Just the fact that, you know, I think Revelations 2 was like the one that dealt with it the most, where it's like Barry's noticeably older, Claire's noticeably older.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Like, you're kind of dealing with the fact that these guys are not, you know, fresh-faced 20-somethings now. Like, quite a bit of time has passed. That's kind of interesting. But then they just kind of stop doing it. When Chris just gets more and more like jacked with each passing.
It's true.
He's coming down now. He's coming down.
He's getting ready for retirement.
He's on his off cycle at the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if he's coming down or he's just wearing a shirt in Village that like conceals it a little bit more, but he's still bulging out of his shirt.
Yeah.
That's goals, man. When I'm that age, damn.
Oh yeah,
gotta get on those roids now.
I keep telling Charlie, I'm like, bro, you need to hit the gym.
Like do a Greg.
Be
like Greg's like 75 or something, and he's still like pumping iron like crazy.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of a fucking live stream, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to interrupt this."
That was awesome.
Dude, Greg's got a headlock that you just can't break. He put me in one. I was like, "Holy shit, he's strong as fuck!" Like,
he tried to kill Tony.
They say it's a traditional greeting in Australia. You just get someone in a headlock, give them a noogie at the same time, you know.
They just got to be better than the kangaroos, dude. So that's why they work on it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say as well, I know you guys are working currently on Resident Evil Resurrection, or sorry, a Biohazard story. And I'm going to put the link up there for the Indiegogo campaign. You guys have got a month or two left on the campaign to get it funded. You're well on your way, and this is a pretty exciting crowdfunding campaign that you guys have got going on. You've got the original cast from the first Resident Evil coming back to reprise their roles. I guess for the benefit of the people who are watching this, could you tell them a little bit more about it?
Yeah. Becky, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So this is a 4-part web series that is going to be an hour total in length. If you want to watch our previous short film, that's The Keeper's Diary, and that's a retelling of basically like the quintessential survival horror diary entry. and that was very well received. Now we're basically multiplying everything by 5. This is like 5 times the length. And 5 times the budget. Very ambitious. We have been writing this and developing this and doing pre-production stuff, all the coordination, the logistics for about 18 months. And we have all sorts of Resident Evil folks from past games, from the community actually joining in on this project. So we actually have Pablo Coons and Joe White. They were actually Albert Wesker in original Resident Evil 1. And Chris in Resident Evil 1 Remake joining us as well, this time live action. So there's a full story to be explored here. And there's also many, many, many different perks that you could get that are limited time. There are signed items by the cast. There is a novella form of the story that is written by me. That is basically like my fullest, truest version of the script, if nothing needed to be cut, right? So there's all sorts of different pieces right there, but this story is very much inspired by the events of Resident Evil Village that you see in the end. So you will see a little bit of espionage and potential corruption inspired by the BSAA deploying out bioweapons, a continuation of Chris's story right from there. This is kind of like what's next and my vision of it. New bioagent, new location, all sorts of really cool stuff to explore. And Chris and Jill are sort of like at the center of it, but we also obviously have Rebecca and Barry, Linda and Greg. And this is completely not part of like the official product. This is like not for profit. This is completely independent. And it is like very ambitious in that regard to do something on this scale as a fan project. But yes, we have basically meticulously accounted for every single detail with budget and come up with this campaign. And we have all sorts of really cool stuff to enjoy. So I hope you check it out. I really hope that we could make this. This is something that like we have been pushing and promoting. And if it's any indication how strongly I feel about it, we've actually been running bonuses of like, hey, if we hit this amount per a certain day, we get this like bonus from you personally so that we could just move this along. And we've had some very good progress. So thank you so much to everyone who's checking it out and contributed so far. Thank you.
Can I say something to that real quick?
Yes.
Drinker, earlier you said that you just want to see the original stars, get the band back together, right? That's what we're doing.
Yep.
Literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all I wanted to say. Like, you want to see the original live action cast return, in this new story set inspired by the Resident Evil world, with the new Outbreak, and see what they would do and how they would act. Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for fans of like classic Resident Evil, like it doesn't get much better than that. To see these guys that haven't really acted as these characters in almost 30 years to come back and reprise their roles, and we get to see them, at a later stage in life, it is pretty damn cool that you guys were able to pull all this together to get all of them to take part in this again. So I honestly wish you the best of luck. I think it's such a neat project. I think it's such a cool way to bring Resident Evil full circle and really, give the fans of the classic Resident Evil a real treat. And I hope to see it funded.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah.
So yeah, as I say, I will make sure that link is available in the description when I re-upload this. But I want to say to all you guys from the Residents of Evil channel, thanks for coming on for this tonight. It's really awesome to talk with you guys about this upcoming game and to reminisce a little bit about the series. So thank you very much for giving up some time for this.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us take over.
Yeah, exactly. God, I got more lore than I ever could have bargained for tonight.
Go process it now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go sit in a dark room and think about this. But for everyone else who joined us for this tonight as well, thank you very much. We appreciate all the super chats. And may the Resident Evil be with you. But for now, that's all we got for today. So go away now.